You're hearing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanna
Okay.
get you and keep you in my arms evermore. Leave all those
But you just lost it.
lovers on a faraway shore.
I can hear it.
You can hear it now?
On the bright
Okay.
All the time.
the moon, big and shiny, melting my heart of stone. I wanna get you and take you on a slow boat to China all by myself. I wanna take you away on a slow boat, all by myself, alone. I wanna take you and keep you in my arms evermore. I want you to leave all those silly lovers waiting on a faraway shore. We'll be just you and me, just me and you out on the Friday with that moon big and shiny. It'll be melting my heart of stone. I wanna get you and take you and keep you on a slow, slow boat to China. Do you think we could do that? Do you think on our second date we can go to China together? Is that cool? boat to China. All by myself alone. I wanna get you and keep you in my arms evermore. Leave all those silly old lovers waiting on a faraway shore. We'll be out on a Friday with that moon big and shiny, melting my heart of stone. I wanna get you on a slow, very slow boat to China. Let's go to China. I hear that China's nice this time of year. Wouldn't it be nice to just go up to China on a slow boat alone? Evan Francis. Ooh, on flute.
All right. My guest is the lovely Marianne Solivan. Hi, Marianne.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm just, as we speak, I'm getting some more of my stuff together. So,
No worries.
yeah, I'm so glad to have you on. And I was, all right. Here we go. Marianne and I were saying, well, mostly I was saying, I can't remember how I found out about you, but we think it was through Ferenc Nemeth, and the really great piano player who also lives in New York. And yeah, and I was complimenting Marianne before we came on. Just her singing is so beautiful and warm and mature and so swinging, really good. You know, and I was trying to think of who your voice reminds me of. It's in your speaking voice as well. I don't know if you listened a lot to Nancy King.
Oh my gosh. Definitely. Definitely. She's
I
one
hear
of my
her.
favorites.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And
One of my absolute favorites. Yeah.
yeah. I wish Nancy was a little less of a recluse, and then I could get her on. But she barely picks up the phone. But and barely is the key word actually. But yeah, she's just a great singer too. But yeah, I hear it in the tone of your voice and a little bit of your attitude as well. You know, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because between her and Carmen McRae, I have always felt a sort of kinship with their approach and their attitudes. Like I always felt like, wow, that feels like the way I feel about things and the way there's definitely those two singers for me are like big influences and people that I look up to very much.
Yeah.
I mean, all I can do with my students and anytime is try to get more people to listen to Nancy King.
That's so great
Really.
because really, you know, a lot of people don't talk about her, don't know her, you know. I mean, singers like us who are who are singing and inside this music for a long time, of course, we know about her. But yeah, it's, I mean, you know, have you ever heard, I'll have to turn you on to it if you haven't heard this, it was a Metropole orchestra. Well, actually, I don't think he did it in Metropole. So Tim Weston, who is a guitar player himself, but he is the son of Paul Weston and Joe Stafford. You know, that they did the funny joke stuff. Did you ever hear the funny joke stuff too that they did? So anyway, he let's see, where was I going with this? Okay,
Nancy.
Yeah, so he made these two amazing recordings. I think, I want to say that Japan was involved. Anyway, one was a tribute to Rodgers and Hammerstein. And he got a different arranger and a different singer for each song. Like one of my favorite ones was a Nan Schwartz arrangement with Mark Murphy, and doing this only was mine. Or what is it? Is that what it's called? This only was mine, or no? Once only was mine. Oh my gosh, forget the real name of it.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's just. But Nancy King was on one also with the arranger Van Dyke Parks, who's very quirky, and he had done this arrangement of a song that I've never heard by Rodgers and Hammerstein, called "Everybody's Got a Home But Me." And
I don't know that one either. Wow.
yeah, really just kind of a "everybody's got a home but me," one of those, like, from whatever show it was. And then they had gotten a singer who I guess was a famous rock singer to try and sing it, and she couldn't do it. So at the last minute, they asked Nancy, and it was totally perfect. I definitely will have to send you that. I'm writing myself a note.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll, well, I mean, of course, being a Nancy King fan, you'll totally love it. But I'm sure you've heard the Metropole thing that she did, right?
I did. And it's funny. I can't fully remember the circumstances. I used to play at this French bistro in Boston called Les Zigomats on Saturdays for many years, and also did a jam session. And I remember meeting this man, older man, who was like really into music, on vacation in Boston. And he asked me what kind of singers I like. And then he said, "I'm going to send you something." And within a few months, I mean, this is going back close to 20 years ago. Within a few months, he sent me a manila envelope filled with like 20 bootlegs. And it had like everything that Nancy King had like on record. And that's when I went like cuckoo for Nancy. Because I just did a deep dive. It was like this guy sent me all this stuff. He sent me some, Nancy Wilson records also that I never had. He sent me some Shirley Horn.
Wow.
He just sent me all. He was like, "I think I get what kind of music you like. I'm going to send you all this stuff."
Wow.
And this was back when, CDs were still $25 each, So
Yeah.
it was like somebody sending you a treasure trove of CDs was like, wow, this is nice. And
Yeah.
he copied. I mean, I hope that I have given back to all of these singers financially, because he did, they were all bootlegs, but he like photocopied all the liner notes and folded them nicely and put them with the CDs.
Oh God.
I still have it all in his manila envelope. It was such a gift. I was like, wow, I don't think I ever saw that man again, because he didn't live in Boston. He was just sort of there.
Wow.
In the midst. Yeah.
Love it. A jazz angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Hey, Sasha Boutros. Hello.
Hi, Sasha.
I'm probably some of your friends are on. Maureen Renahan
Oh, yes. Hey, Maureen.
and Sonia Cavallari.
Ah, yes. Sonia's repping Italy for me.
And a friend of mine, Joyce Glasgow, who you might know too, because she knows a lot of people. This Nearly Was Mine. That's the song. This Nearly Was Mine. Real beautiful.
Does Paul Jost sing that song too?
Yes, probably.
That, I feel like I heard Paul Jost sing that, and now my brain is losing it. Why do I feel like it was on a concert we did together?
Oh.
I'm like, because you just sang that, and it's like Paul just popped up. It's very
yeah, probably. And maybe that's where actually we were introduced, through Paul.
That's very possible.
Yeah, because Paul is a very
possible.
dear friend of mine.
Yeah,
Actually, sorry, it's about me, but I have a new single coming out in two days or 3 days, and Paul Jost is my guest artist.
Oh my goodness, isn't he just the best?
He
lovely.
is the best. I love him.
In, out, up and down, just what a treat of a man he is.
Totally beautiful human being and beautiful artist. And it's just amazing to me that he's so, I really don't know anybody else like him. He's very intense and absolutely filled with warmth and insight, and you know, I mean, it's just he's really a special person. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The arranging is very special.
Yeah.
He's got such a beautiful point of view for songs that's very deep and really connects. He's clearly connected to it, and he automatically connects the listener. And I just adore it. Yeah. It sucks that it's been so long that I've seen him, because we used to see each other on kind of a nice frequency before COVID.
Oh.
But
You're,
these will come
well,
back.
yeah, that's great. Wait till you hear what he did with this song. I'll just tell you this. I sent it to him. I had recorded it and I had sung it, and then I sent him that. And he sent me back his idea, which was, I'm not going to ruin the surprise for people, but I'll send it to you afterwards. But I was blown away when I heard his idea, and just totally intimatized it. You know, it was really, it's really an amazing thing. I'm sure you'll understand when you hear it.
Nice. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. So of course the name, I'm just so curious about your name. First of all, Solivan, which normally is Irish, right? Sullivan, or leaning that way. Where are you from? Where are your people from?
You know, I don't think my parents did this intentionally, but boy, it's like this name that's has been its own conversation piece. So I'm actually second generation Puerto Rican.
Oh, okay.
My parents are Puerto Rican, which doesn't solve the mystery of my random name at all. So the last name is actually Solivan, right? It's very hard to get folks to pronounce that, though I try. So my name really should be Marianne Solivan, but my parents spelled my first name the French way, like Marianne. But in Spanish, that actually looks like Marianne, which is actually more masculine. So there's a little bit of just that gets people a little confused. And Solivan is just so not a typical Latino name. And I've heard some talk in the family that it actually comes from Sullivan, O'Sullivan, the Irish name, and that during the potato famine, there was migration to Europe and Spain for work. And then from Spain, boats went to the Caribbean, and the name was sort of chiseled away from that. But I honestly have not done the background check on myself or the, what is it?
23 and me.
23 and me.
21. Close.
Yeah. But so I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a very strange name. My first ever interview actually on the radio with Eric Jackson over at WGBH.
Yeah.
He spent about 10 minutes just being like, wait, how do you say it? Solivan? Because I walked into the studio and he just thought I was Irish. He was like, how is a young Irish girl singing jazz? And I was like, what? I'm not a young Irish girl. So it's always kind of it's always a conversation that needs to be had. It's always 5 minutes before a concert if somebody is introducing me to be like, can you please try to say Solivan? Solivan. You know, I don't try to push the Mariana part because that's the rolling of the R is really it's like for some people that's
Solivan is, I mean, you have to have kind of a feeling for the tempo of the language, you know. I think if you do, then it's kind of easy, you know. But I understand about Marianne, or, you know, I'm sure I didn't roll my R well, but yeah, so I don't want to spend too much time on your name, but I was curious because I couldn't quite tell by your looks, and I do have a friend, Jackie Ryan, who's a really great singer, and she has but Ryan, you know, her dad was Irish and her mom was Mexican, so I mean that was very specific.
I mean, I know who she is. I've seen her at Birdland a few times, but I didn't know she was so she's Irish and Mexican. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And it was even more confusing, I think, for people. Like in the video you showed, I used to blow out my hair and have my hair like long and sort of kind of straight-ish. And And I think that confused people even more because then I really didn't look Latino. So yeah, it's.
So whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well.
But I will say this: my mom, and I don't really know why I blame this on my mother. It could have been both my parents.
Okay.
But they have my sister's name is Bonnie Lynn.
Wow.
Not
Definitely
Latino.
not Latino.
My brother got my father's name of Samuel. It's not super Latino, but it's enough. And then I have another sister named Grace Ann.
I like how you say that too. Very white. Grace
it's like
Ann.
Grace Ann, Bonnie Lynn, and Marianne, but spelled, had she spelled me with a Y, then it would have really been like, oh, geez. So something was up with the naming. They definitely had a theme that I don't understand, but.
Did you grow up in Puerto Rico? Okay.
No, I grew up in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and then back here.
Oh, where'd you grow up in Massachusetts?
I was in Newton.
That's my
Newton,
hometown.
Massachusetts. Are you kidding?
No. I am not kidding. That's my hometown. I grew up in the spot where Dedham and Needham are in a corner. And that spot is called Oak Hill Park. And now it's kind of fancy because people bought the homes. But back then, it was a little community built for the, for the armed force people coming back. So it was all one level, basically small houses with a good little plot of land and stuff. We had our own elementary school and our own little stores. So it was near Newton Center, basically. It was, yeah.
Wow, I lived right off of Newton Center, because my father was teaching at Andover Newton Theological Seminary.
Oh,
so we lived on campus on that huge hill.
Yeah.
For gosh, I don't know how long did we live there. I feel like it must have been. I mean, I did 7th grade through. Well, then I lived through my first year of college, and then I moved into Jamaica Plain.
Wow.
But yeah, that's funny. What a small world.
Yeah, isn't that wild? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I went to Newton South.
Me too. I was going to say, did you go to Newton North or Newton South? Wow. Okay, what house were you in? Did they have houses then?
see, this is where I get bad because I block things out.
Yeah, I don't remember. There was Goodwin House. My sisters were in Goodwin House.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I don't remember the houses.
That was such an interesting high school.
It was kind of when I went, it was kind of progressive, yeah. And like I went around the time when there was politically the my COVID brain. Let's see. What was happening politically? It was, in the early 70s. It was the war, and people were demonstrating and all of that stuff, and Newton South was really kind of gung-ho about all that stuff, and we had days off because of all that stuff happening. And gosh, I don't know. My brain, I'm thinking of the song. Anyway, I'll that's not important. That's my memories. But that's really wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really wild.
Newton South is like, I was not a good student. Newton South was the time when I really had to, I think unconsciously I made a decision to not go down the wrong path. Right.
Yes.
And the right path was entering the music room and meeting Helen Taylor, who was the music teacher at the time, who then was Helen Taylor there when you were there?
No, I was going to ask you, do you remember Dwight McCarran, the English teacher?
That actually sounds extremely familiar.
He was a real adventurous guy. I can't believe they even hired him as a teacher, knowing what I know about teachers now, The first day we had his class, he talked, the whole class. And then at the end of the class, he said, when the bell rang, he said, I just want to tell you, I lied. And then we left. We were all like, we didn't know. We were so like, freshmen. We were like, what? What?
About what? The whole
Yeah.
thing? Or
But now you probably knew Rebecca Paris, right?
I knew her very minimally. So
Okay.
Rebecca Paris is it's such a, I mean, life is so funny. So funny. Rebecca Paris came to our high school, and we did not have like a jazz program really, especially for vocalists. Like we had a sort of slightly dinky little wannabe tryout a cappella group at one point, but it wasn't very good. But she came and did like a workshop with us and then sang at one of our concerts, because there was a big choral program, when I was there, which I was a big part of. And I ended up singing a jazz tune sort of inspired by the fact that she had come and sort of worked with us as students. And in my yearbook, I actually wrote something like, watch out, Rebecca, I'm coming for you. I'm coming. And the funny thing is that I didn't even go and start singing jazz for another number of years after that. It wasn't like I was so on fire for jazz in high school but looking back at it now, it's like, whoa, that's so weird. And so the whole time I was in Boston playing gigs later, and she was there, like, it was one of those things where you never actually meet or hang out, but you're always like 2 steps behind her. Like, she just left the club, or she was just playing here last night. So we actually never had a real like hang. Even though we were in the same city, rolling, playing at the same time. Unfortunately, because the whole Rebecca Paris thing.
Well, I'm not surprised that you were drawn to her, because you were drawn to Nancy King and Carmen McRae. And that was where Rebecca was too. Her attitude was, bigger than life, and very extremely warm person, and but really kick butt, and really one of the best singers ever. And she went to Newton North, and she was a year older than me. And we were in this special music group that was orchestra and vocal, chorus, that had been handpicked and led by these professional arrangers, and called the Greater Bostonians. And they handpicked several kids from different schools. And so her name was different then too. Her name was Ruth McCluskey. And and so actually Dwight, my English teacher, I was living out here in LA for a number of years, and then Dwight and I talked, and he said, well, Rebecca Paris. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, well, she was Ruth McCluskey. And I was like, what? And and Rebecca, she was really great. And she came from a rock background,
That's right. Yeah. No, she was, I mean, the most that I've heard of hers is, of course, through records more than live.
Yeah.
But I just remember it was, especially at the time when she came to the school, it was something so absolutely new. Like, my parents didn't listen to jazz. I mean, they were both religious, like, preachers. So I didn't listen to any popular music really at home.
Oh, wow.
So, being able to do something that was, I liked choral singing. I dug it at the time, so all that was available. I was digging it in high school. But I just remember being so excited, like, to do something different. I didn't know anything about jazz, or I remember we tried to improvise, and I didn't know what any of that was. It just was fun. It was like something new and different that seemed like an exciting opportunity. And then she sang with a band.
When did you start actually getting into singing it yourself?
Oh, geez. I went to university. I went to the Boston Conservatory for my first year of school.
Yeah.
Right out of high school. So, and at the end, close to the end of that first year, I went to a party and was a wallflower, and ended up just listening to this Ella record that was just on. at the party and being like, wow, I know all these songs from like my musical theater background, but I've never heard them sung like this. And this woman has the best voice I've ever heard. So when I left there, that party that night, I went back to my voice teacher, which was all classical voice, operatic studio. And I asked my teacher if I can check out some of those tunes. And she lost it on me, man. This woman was like, how
I don't know.
dare you?
Boy, man, how do they get into those positions anyway, those people?
Man, she was just, she basically, by the end of that lesson, said that I shouldn't come back to lessons
God.
until I get my shit together. That I wasn't worth her time if I didn't even want to be serious, and that I might as well go smoke a pack of cigarettes if I wanted to do that. Like, it was so like your atypical, like stereotypical moment. And
God, how were you affected by that conversation?
I guess I'm gonna go check out Ella.
A little bit of a rebel in you.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, you just refused to teach me because I said I wanted to check out Ella and maybe sing a jazz tune. And I don't even know what jazz is. And that the response you get from like, I want to do this thing that I barely know anything about, but can you help me because you're my teacher, was like, kick me out. So I finished that year. Wow. And I didn't go back to school for a whole other slew of reasons. So I didn't go back to school for like 3.5 years.
Oh.
And in that time, I remember going to a record store and thought, man, I'm going to check out more jazz. And I bought 5 records. And then it was like very fast slope. It was like, I have to sing this music. I don't want to sing the other kind of music I was singing. I got to go back to school. I got to find a way back to school because I want to learn how to sing this music. And I was sort of withering away, I was, 18, 19, 20, between 19 and 21 and just about when I turned 22, just sort of not doing anything. I was working in restaurants. I had this and this, job, sort of just putzing around. So I was like, man, I got to go back to school. And I think I want to study jazz. And then I got into Berkeley. So it worked out, thank goodness they let me in. I didn't know I didn't know anything when I got into Berkeley. I like to be very clear about that. I was not like the kids are now, where they're like, they have so much together when they get into school. It's like insane.
Yeah.
I did not have anything together. I was not that good a singer. I didn't know anything really about jazz legitimately. Like, I just knew I liked what it sounded like and I was kind of into it. My level of green when I got into Berkeley was pretty.
My level of green.
Yeah, no, it was pretty green. I didn't know what the word improvisation was when we did our first initial ensemble audition. When we get in, she asked me to sight read too, and I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Then she asked me to improvise, and I was like, I have no idea what you mean. And she started playing piano and she goes, do this. And she started improvising a little. And I was like, okay. So I basically sang back to her what she sang. And at the end, she goes, okay, you don't know what the hell you're doing with improvising, but you have a really good ear. So that's cool. So, so I stayed there and I learned a lot. But yeah, I didn't know anything. I was very green.
That's funny. So you stayed in Boston for a while?
Yeah, I ended up doing 2 majors at Berkeley. Took a year after I graduated. I taught, and then I went to NEC. So I was in Boston for a good long time.
So then you went to NEC for your master's, or what did you? Yeah. And
jazz studies.
Jazz studies. Interesting. And who was your teacher? Was it
Dominique Eade was the vocal teacher.
Yeah.
So I studied with her for 1 year, but then I also studied with like Frank Kahlberg, Michael Caine. I studied with a lot of instrumental teachers as well.
Oh, uh-huh.
But yeah, that was in, NEC seems to really run the gamut in the sort of vibe. Like, I know Berkeley has that too, where like, there'll be these number of years where it's all like super straight ahead, and then it'll get really modern or really rock oriented.
Yeah.
So there's these waves, and NEC has them too, but they seem to me to be so much bigger. Like when I was at NEC, it was absolutely all like free improvised music.
Oh yeah.
The fact that I sang songs at gigs, like
Yeah.
standards, was considered like unbelievably commercial. You sold out. Like I can't, like I didn't sing, like it was all free improvised
Interesting.
music. And now I hear singers coming out of the last few years, NEC, who are some of the most, not only straight ahead, but old timey. Like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like they're
yeah.
doing like the quasi Annette
Standards and
Henshaw,
yeah.
like super old timey
Yeah.
trad jazz. So the school has made quite a
Interesting.
wave of difference.
And so you are, so I would guess that you're really good at improvising, free singing as well.
No, don't guess that.
Okay.
No, I mean, I did it. It wasn't, I think it has helped me be a better improviser in general, but I don't do that sort of
The J. Clay.
free. Yeah, that's not the thing that turns me on much. Oh, did you just go in and out?
I did, and I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly why, but
You're
I
back
think
now.
I'm back now. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of just decided to do that all by
Yeah.
itself.
But no, I don't do a lot of the sort of more free improvisational music. It's not something that turns me on that much now for myself. I mean, I think it helped me become more open in a lot of ways creatively. But that type of music is not something that I generally go towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in LA, there's all different kinds of stuff happening. You know, as far as singing and music, there's a very high ability arranging, you know, that kind of thing. That's really good for technique and arranging. Although it's not what I listen to, because I mean, I will listen to it and then I'll go, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about my phone ringing, but yeah, and I would much prefer, I mean, sometimes, and I know you're probably feel this way too. Sometimes I would just like to hear my students in a workshop sing, you know, as opposed to the other stuff, because it's heartfelt, it's beautiful, it touches the magic. And to me, you know, more and more as I grow older, I mean, that's what I want more than anything. I mean, you know, I mean, I always knew that, but I guess it's like you go see something that you're not familiar with, you like it or you don't like it, and then somebody explains what makes it, and that's, you know, that's, and then you can put a name to what you like and you don't like, you know. So yeah, so that's what I listen to mostly now. I want to get touched, you know, and
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, I find that there's such a battle. Try to let people know that you know all these
Yeah,
things, or that you can do all these things, or
yeah,
frankly, that your degree, look, I got a degree, so I
yeah,
can do all this stuff, and
yeah,
I reharmed everything.
yeah,
I am generally really not interested, like at all. Like if you can't sing the song, whatever that song is, if it's an original song or, you know, the most unbelievably classic standard, like if you can't sing it and get me to just want to continue hearing you sing,
yeah,
then I could care less. I feel like, you know, I don't care about anything else, all the accoutrement that you put on that tune.
yeah,
And I you know, I had like this sort of intense argument with myself a few years ago, because I kept hearing all these singers coming up with all these really just overzealous arrangements, and everybody was talking about how amazing they were.
yeah,
And I'm sitting there like, amazing? What are you talking about? Like, all I see in my mind when I hear sometimes these arrangements is a singer standing there and a cell coming down around them, as like that's the arrangement. The arrangement puts you in a box that you can't get out of, right? Because there's no room for you, actually. There's
yeah,
only room for you to walk that little line. And I remember thinking, well, should I do my next project? Should I be super hyper arranged? Everybody seems to love these arrangements. And then I was like, nah, dude, you hate that shit. What are you talking about? Like, you hate that. What, don't do that. Why would you do that? And I constantly feel like I'm getting pulled by whatever the
That is.
big machine of whatever,
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to do that. And I'm like, but I don't enjoy that. I don't feel any freedom in that. I don't feel I can be me in that. I just want to hear people sing songs that they freaking love and then make me fall in love with not only the song, but with you. Like, that's what I want. Like,
Yeah.
all the other things, it's like, yeah, who cares? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let
Yeah.
me know that you love it and let me feel everything that you just sang. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I'm going for.
Well, speaking of Nancy King, the record with the Metropole, so Steve Christofferson was her accompanist during, many years. So he told me that when they got that gig, he told the arrangers, Nancy is going to do exactly what she wants. She's not going to be corralled into, singing a particular line, and that's not going to happen. So, along what we're speaking of, I think she did a unbelievable job at singing how she wants to sing, and all these things that we're saying that we love a singer to do in a structure. This amazing orchestral structure, and she just sang. I mean, that's super challenging to do, and I know I've tried, and in my own mind, I've succeeded and I failed, or I don't want to say failed, but, didn't rise up to what I would have hoped to. And then on other songs I did. But that seems, for me, that's always an interesting point. And as a matter of fact, I have a friend who's a really fabulous piano player, and he's very swing and straight ahead. And he's incredible in that. And when I sing with him, I really have to work at getting myself to sing like I sing instead of trying to match him, because if I try and match him, it doesn't work. It's not that fluid, magical, wonderful thing, and it's challenging. And I've even had this lesson over and over again throughout my life, but it's still challenging, because you always have to remind yourself how to get to the magic.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting that when you talk about this pianist, because I've been very lucky in New York to play with some ridiculously talented, amazing pianists. I've had a string of really amazing luck with pianists. And yet there's been a few that sort of, I started on a path with them and we were working together a lot. And then it became very clear to me after a number of months, like, you only sing in this one way. That one person in particular, that was actually, it was bad for me. The way I was singing was like, in terms of, technique, was actually really bad for me, because he always played one way. He was always very, very loud. And I loved that energy, but in the long run, it was like, oh, that's all we have together.
Yeah.
Is this loud energy. We don't have anything else really.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, also pianists that, wow, I don't sing as traditionally as that. I love what you're doing, but I don't sing that traditionally, where I'm always in that certain space, which is the space that you love to be in. And then realizing, oh, okay, I can't work with you anymore because I'm clearly going in a direction and you're not. And that's fine. But I need somebody who will fly with me and allow me to fly. And every now and then, either catch me or peel me from the wall that I went into. It happens. But yeah, and that, I think finding those people that you can feel open to that comfort to go in your direction is so special.
Yeah.
I was doing, and hopefully will be again once COVID's together here in New York, but these workshops, and they were all for, more amateur singers to learn how to work with a band, right? And the idea was that there's going to be a professional rhythm section there every week. You're going to get up and you're going to really learn how to work with a band, how to talk to a band, how to have your own personal shit together so that you're taken seriously and, can learn some things on the bandstand and can actually make music with somebody rather than in front of them, right?
Yeah.
And I really loved it when singers who had been in the New York scene for a very long time had decided to finally come to a class, which was nice. It was like, come and trust me. I promise you, it's gonna be fun and you'll learn some stuff. But then they were like, oh my God, these musicians are amazing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we tend a lot of times to work with some folks that it's like, because we don't feel confident that we know more than them about music.
Yeah.
We end up with people who are really not the right fit. And then we get discouraged about our own singing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you play with really great musicians or musicians who are open to really supporting you, not just playing their own thing, but like going in your direction, then it's just like, oh.
Right. Yeah, I had one of those experiences this week. I went into the studio because I woke up with this idea of using a song that I had in my repertoire for years, and it's about love and hope, and a good friend of mine passed away this year, and we did a really beautiful memorial for him. This guy Barry Zweig, a great guitar player, and I woke up really early with an idea, about this song and involving, like, making an iMovie with some of the memorial. And it's, lately I've been into these kind of love-filled, offerings, like just, but I went into the studio with such a band as you were talking about, the top guys. And I mean, what a great feeling. Oh my God. Just really, really, really great feeling. And it does bring you to different places. And that, I guess that's what I miss right now, is the growth that could happen, when you're working, when you create these jobs for yourself over and over and over again, and you're out there with these musicians, and you're able to work stuff out and grow. And I feel bad for less professional people who, Paul Jost is calling right now. Anyway, I feel bad for people because it's hard to get into those positions even before COVID, right? It's hard to get into those positions that you have that availability of working it out. I mean, I can probably assume that you, like I, worked our brains out. We were always working. I mean, coming up here, we did like 9 gigs a week because that was the time when we were doing a lot of casuals and rock gigs and jazz gigs, and we were always working, and we always shared our gigs with each other. And so, yeah, I mean, it's hard if you don't have a lot of opportunities. It's hard to get that shit going,
Yeah. I think when I was in Boston, I worked like a maniac. Right out of school, I basically just had no fear. I wish I could be that same way now. But I went out and got so many gigs, and we would do, steadies, like one every Tuesday here, every Wednesday there. And I'd have anywhere between 5 to 7 steadies a week for years, right? So you're playing 4 hours a night, many nights a week.
Yeah.
Plus I ran a bunch of jam sessions. When I moved to New York, it was like 1 gig in the first 9 months, like maybe 3 in the first year and a half.
Oh.
It was so hard to find steady work. And then, you got into restaurants and stuff like that to do that, but that's a whole different bag. But, I felt like I initially moved to New York thinking like, oh my God, I wish I had left Boston sooner. I wish I had, gotten out of there. And then within a few years in New York, I was like, if I hadn't had that training ground in Boston, I would never make it here, because it's so hard to sing. And yeah, you can go to a number of jam sessions every night, but that's one song, maybe two at each. That's it. So you don't even get stamina, endurance, understand like the flow of a set. There's so many things that you don't get from just night after night playing.
Yeah.
And it took a few years to get it going, but then I started playing a lot. Then it was, and that was really looking at my calendar, because my website has always been good about like they save the calendar, like all the listings that you've put on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the end of the year, I always like to look and see how many gigs did I do. Like it's kind of like nice, gives me ways to have goals for the next. And this year, finishing 2020 was like, I went from like usually anywhere from 150 to like 190 gigs to like 30. And I was just like, this is terrible.
And they were all in January and February.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was on tour exactly this time last year.
Yeah.
In the Czech Republic. It was Czech Republic, Germany, Austria, Poland, somewhere else. And then I was supposed to end with a little vacation for myself, because that was going to be spring break at my school. So it was going to be 5 weeks altogether. We got through 2.5, 3 almost, and then had to stop and for COVID, had to get, because that's when we had the travel ban. But we were supposed to do 21 one-nighters in a row. So that was the bulk of all my gigs that year, was that we got through 17 of them, I think. And then I had to fly home.
Wow.
Yeah, because I flew home on the 13th or 14th of March last year.
Yeah. I was supposed to go to Japan for 3 weeks in March. And I kind of waited till the last minute to cancel, because it was kind of unknown at that moment, what was going on. And my girlfriend in Tokyo, my friend in Hiroshima kept saying, come on over, and Osaka, come on over. My friend in Tokyo said, don't come, no way. And then, because a lot of my income there is teaching, and we teach in a very small area, Japan is very, has lots of tiny areas to perform and teach in. And nobody's going to want to come and take a lesson from me in that during this, So... Yeah, I could go to Japan, and I love Japan. I've been going there for years, but still, it's like, well, it just doesn't make sense. So I finally canceled, and then, of course, the shit really hit the fan,
Yeah. I mean, I came back, and I've basically been in this apartment. This is like the bulk. I live in a little apartment in Brooklyn. Basically been in here for a year now. Just in here. I mean, it's...
Do you have a studio? Is it a studio?
I have a studio apartment, which strangely enough, because you can see my bed, has a separate eat-in kitchen. I'm an extremely lucky lady. And I have 3 huge windows with, as you can see, a lot of light all day.
Wow.
So I've been here in the same place for 14 years.
Oh, gosh.
I love it. I live on the same block as the train. There's a huge park across the street. Wow. It's a great neighborhood. So yeah, I came back and was like, okay, I guess I'll be here for a minute. Then they shut down school, of course. And the rest is history. But I've been here, just so weird.
Where do you teach, Marianne?
Oh, I teach at Syracuse University.
Okay.
So yeah, they have a relatively new jazz and commercial music area in their Sentner School of Music. And so I got the gig. This is the second, the end of my second year, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I was an adjunct the first year, and now I am a full-time tenure track. So
cool.
Knock on wood. And I got that gig, like they offered it to me exactly a year ago. Like this week, a year ago is when they said, would you like the gig? Because I had interviewed in February. I was like, oh yeah, I think I should take that job.
Wow.
Super out. Yeah. They offered me the job on the week that they were shutting down school for COVID.
Interesting. Wow.
Life is strange. Super strange.
Hey, let's listen to another something.
Sure.
where would you direct me?
Where would I direct you? Oh no, where would I direct you? Oh wait, what just happened?
Well, I just shared my
Here we go.
screen, so
Gotcha.
I'm actually going to look for you again, and then
Where would I direct you?
I mean, here I will show you what will, and then you can kind of.
Oh
you.
wow, that's me. Oh, look at me. It's
Big band, and I'm in the
again.
mood for love.
Oh, that was in
these-
Italy, yeah. Oh wait, what is this? What is this? Women in Jazz and Future of Music in New Digital Reality.
Where? Oh, here.
I don't even know what that is. Oh, I know what that is. Yes, I do. That was an interview in. That was actually just in September in Montenegro.
Oh,
I got to go with. Have you heard of this organization, the Made in New York? They do this big jazz festival in Montenegro, and they.
it's called Made in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So we were there for they actually did the festival in September.
Oh.
So we were out there for that. Okay, so do you want audio or video?
Anything, whatever you'd like to share is fine.
Well, you know what? Why don't we share something that's from COVID times?
Okay.
Do you have does the video Solitude come up with myself and Josh?
I can. Let's see.
We made this kind of, there it is, the top one at the kind of the beginning, a little one of those I sing from here, you play from there, but I think it turned out pretty good. And this is Josh Richmond, who I just adore. Great pianist, lives in Jersey, but really we've been working together for a number of years.
Cool. Okay.
In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries of days gone by. In my solitude, you taunt me with memories that never die. I sit in my chair, I am filled with despair. No one can feel so bad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know I will soon go mad in my solitude. I'm praying sit in my chair, filled with despair. No one can be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and stare. I know I will soon go mad in my solitude. I pray, dear Lord above, send back my love. Dear Lord above, send back my love.
Really nice. Beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that was kind of close to the beginning of a few months in, I think.
Uh-huh.
That's the
Yeah.
only song that kept running through my brain.
Uh,
My goodness.
Lovely.
Thank you.
I noticed on your resume that you really have sung with some royalty of jazz. Christian McBride, Jeremy Pelt, Peter Bernstein, Bruce Barth. I mean, on and on and on. And Gene Bertoncini too, and Lewis Nash.
Okay.
Yeah. How's he doing? I saw him a year ago at the jazz convention in New York.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen him in probably a year and a half or more, but I know that like in the springtime and over the summer, he was playing with a few people in the park. Like Ekstrom was playing with him, and I'm gonna forget her name. Anyhow, but which was great. It made me super happy to see that he was getting out of the house and playing in Central Park, because frankly, I was like, every musician in New York should just go play in the park. I was playing in the park. That it was just like, we got to get out. We got to find a way to do this. And the city's not helping us. So just go out and play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find a nice spot. And again, thankfully, I'm right across the street from Prospect Park. So, but yeah, so I saw that he was playing the park, but I haven't seen him in person for a while now. It's been a while. He's a sweetheart. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's definitely was like, whoa, you're getting up there, man, in age, but he was adorable. I don't know if he fully remembered me actually, but he was being interviewed by this guy. I can't remember his name, but it was right at the inside the jazz convention, and it was so nice to see him because he's such a sweetheart too. Guitar players, though, I mean, they have a really interesting community, don't they?
They do. For a while there, I wasn't really interested in playing with guitar players. I was really enamored with pianists. And in the last number of years, I've just found so many guitar players that I just adore so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is great.
I've been a big fan of guitar for a long time. Peter Bernstein actually was, of course, definitely one of my favorites to listen to, and I've recorded with a few great guitar players too. But yeah, Peter Bernstein. Just because we're talking about guitar, talk a little bit about singing with him.
He's tremendous. We've done, so he was on the recording, and we've done just a few gigs together, always in very small, like, scenarios, whether it's guitar, voice, saxophone, or just with bass, guitar, voice. I mean, he's very, in a way, he's sort of like, I put him in the same category playing with him as like playing when I played with Buster Williams, which was like, if you don't fully trust everything that he's going to do,
Right.
You're going to get super caught in the weeds. You're going to get in a muck. You just got to like, and that's what's really interesting about Peter, actually, Gene Bertoncini, is like, you have to be so on top of what you're doing and clear about what you do, and just go forth. And he will be like everywhere around you, doing everything to make every idea you just came up with amazing. So if you're waiting for him, to do something, to get an idea, then or if you're not so secure in what you're doing, it can start to feel very murky.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember Steve Wilson, who is a saxophonist that I can't get enough of. I just adore him as a person and a musician. But I remember him being like, "Nah, man, you have to just trust yourself and trust us. Like, we got you.
Yeah.
Like, stop. If you have any of those doubts of like, what's happening, then it all goes.
It's all over.
So,
yeah.
So playing with him was like that. Like, okay, Marianne, you have to trust yourself and know that he's going to be everywhere he needs to be and make everything work."
Yeah.
And he does, he does. So yeah. And, that list that you just rang, I mean, that's just a testament to being here in New York, really and truly, right? Because they hang here all the time. They live here, most of those guys, and they hang here a lot. For a long time, I was seeing music 4 to 6 times a week. Like, I was out seeing music at every club, like just sitting there watching bands. So I got to meet a lot of people. I think my consistency with going to jam sessions when I first moved to New York really allowed me an entryway into the instrumental community that I don't see being very available to a lot of singers in New York. Mainly because if you don't really do the hard work, it's almost like they don't trust you. They're like, well, so, thankfully I was persistent and consistent in my want to play this music, that I was allowed entry. And when I went to make that first record, the Prisoner of Love record, I just asked people that I had met that were kind to me, that had been generous. I'm doing this record, I'm making it myself. Do you think you might want to do something? What's possible? And really, everybody said yes, extremely casually. Like, yeah, of course. I mean, for Christian, it was like, as long as the dates work, like, we need to make it right. But even then, even in his insaneness then, it wasn't nearly as busy as he is now.
Yeah, he's so really busy. Wow.
He's busy. Yeah. So it was just kind of like, okay, I threw out the reel and asked folks. I mean, I saw Bernstein like many nights a week for years, because we were always at Smalls after gigs, and then we'd sit in, and so we were in orbits very much so. So there was a friendship budding, between us. So it was like, hey, do you think you might want to do this record? I'm kind of piecing it together. It was, I couldn't afford to make a record all together. So it was like, I'm going to do some duos and I'm going to do some trios. And if I can afford it, I might do some quartet stuff. And they said yes. I met Jeremy Pelt at Smoke, because that was like my one place for the first year and a half in New York that I could go to for the jam session. I had like no money. but I would go to one jam session a week. So I decided that was it. And every Monday I was there like clockwork. And they, for like the first 9 months, they didn't sing before like 1 o'clock in the morning, even though the jam session started at like 10:30, 11. But they would put singers at the end, you know. And I sort of just kept going and was always there and kept wanting to sing. And I think it just, they were like, okay, she's not messing around. She actually wants this. She wants to get better and do this. And so it just, and that's kind of how the relationship with almost all the musicians here for me has been. It's like, I think I was consistent. I was here for a purpose, you know. I tell younger singers now who are hanging out on the scene, I'm like, if you're not here to sing, and if you don't consistently sing, I promise you, the whole way the community looks at you is going to be different. You're just a girl who thinks she's a singer, you know, or a guy who thinks they're a singer. You have to be here and push yourself to sing every time, all the time. If they don't know that that's what your purpose is here, they're going to treat you as something else, as your purpose being something else. And that's hard to turn around after a while. It's hard to suddenly convince people who have seen you just hanging out that now you actually want to take music seriously. So I'm like, I don't mind hanging out. I love hanging out, but you got to sing. You got to be here to try to sing, you know, and show people what you do. Otherwise you kind of, it's, you know, they can chew you up real fast here.
Yeah. And you said you ran a jam session too, or several?
In Boston, I did. I haven't run one here. I mean, I've run like every once in a blue moon, do it, but I haven't done anything consistently here in New York.
Yeah.
Tried. There was a few venues where we tried, and then the venues either closed or right after you built something, suddenly it's all kaput, you know. But no, I started doing these workshops and some other things that I felt were like my contribution to that idea of like being part of the learning process, you know. So, but yeah, I love me a good jam session though, man. I know a lot of people hate it. I love it. I love how anxiety ridden it is. I love how the bravado that needs to happen. I love it, but I still can have a really bad time. But I don't even mind that. To me, it's like jam sessions are like medicine. They're jazz medicine. They don't always taste good. It's not always good. You don't always succeed, but you need that. You need to be put in that circumstance to hone your skills. Like you just need to hone your skills. And especially for us singers, I'm like, singers need to be more jam sessions. They need to jump in more. They need to be forced to either you know how to do this or you don't. That doesn't mean you're always going to sound great, but you knew how to navigate the scenario.
Yeah. Well, that's like what I was saying before. People don't have that a lot, that availability to try out stuff and make mistakes and be okay about making mistakes and stuff. I ran a jam session every week for 15 years. And the first 7 years was at one place. And it was a great jam session. There was no real stage. It was like the dance floor was the stage, and it wasn't real big. It was kind of small, actually. But then there were seats, like a lot of seats around in a kind of a weird shape. And I have to say, it was well known, definitely. But it was well known because it was really friendly, really open. I mean, people... I remember Nick Mancini, who's a great vibes player. When he came to town, he brought his vibes and he just rolled them in right onto the.
Love it.
And the way I ran the session was I was very open. I guess there was a list too, but a lot of times I would just, like, somebody would come up and say, hey, you know, or like him, you know, he's obviously coming in with the vibes. So I go, hey, great, just go up and join in. Yeah. And then and the singers had to be musician type of singers. They couldn't really survive that session if they were, you know, the kind of showy, it's all about me kind of singers. That it didn't work with that particular session, which was, I think, is an interesting thing. I mean, definitely reflected the people who were involved, and it was really crowded a lot of times, and a lot of times we would end up singing some old R&B tune, and a whole shitload of singers would come up and do backgrounds. And it was really, and it was definitely a community builder. It was really, it was a really great session. After that, what happened was the place had to whatever closed or whatever they did, and so we moved around. And the first place we moved to wasn't bad, but as we continued shifting around, the jam got, for me, not fun anymore, because it was less of a musician jam and more of a singer showcase kind of jam, which I hate. I actually hate that because, like we're saying, we're more musician type of singers, right? I want to be part of the band. I don't want it to be me, and look how dramatic I am, and any of that stuff. And so finally I stopped, and I just thought, you know what? I don't have to keep doing this. I can stop now, And what was really interesting was I had done it for so long that I was known in town as the jam session queen or whatever. And then all of a sudden I had no jam session. And all of a sudden there was this kind of slight shift, like, oh yeah, you're a singer. And right. I really liked that. It was like, oh yeah, I needed to shift that, and that was good. I really enjoyed shifting that. But yeah, I have I have a high tolerance level, but the tolerance level when it comes to that kind of stuff, the singer kind of showcase rather than a comfortable jam, that's really everybody's learning from each other. That is when my limit kind of gets a little reached.
I always felt just, and I don't know if anybody told me this was the way it was supposed to be, but when I was first running jam sessions in Boston, I always felt like this is our opportunity to play. This is our opportunity to sort of stretch, learn. We're going to fall on our face a bunch. We can play with a lot of different musicians. That's always cool. Learn a lot of tunes. But it constantly was about like growth, right? Yeah. Underlying, like, I don't think I was conscious of that, but I knew like, I want to learn tunes. I want to play with people. I want to be really good. I want to like learn how to improvise better and sort of be able to, navigate the bandstand situation, right? I feel like when I started teaching more, especially here in New York, just with my own workshop series and private lessons and stuff, and then started going to the jam sessions that my students were going to, which mainly felt more like just singer showcases. It was like, and I still have this thought, like, it's almost like you're actually not even playing jazz anymore because you're not playing with anybody. You're singing what you prepared at home in front of some folks who are backing you up in a way that's like as least intrusive into what your shtick is. And there's no like that isn't a risk scenario. You're not learning anything. Actually, most of you guys aren't even coming here to learn anything. You coming here to display what you do. And, here there's a huge community of singers in New York. So there were a number of like vocal jams. And I was like, these people come up and do the same thing every week. Like, I can't stand it. I can't watch this. I don't want to be a part of this. This doesn't feel like jazz. It doesn't feel like anything that's like, is this event like vitamin rich or not? Or is it like sugar soda? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm leaving here not feeling like I learned anything or even got a good show out of it, right? So I'm very my students and singer friends know me very. I'm just like, dude, I can't even. Like, if singers can't hang at the same jam that a regular, like, if it's called a vocal jam session, I'm pretty much like
gone.
I don't need to be here. There's been one or two instances in New York where there was a great guitarist, Saul Rubin, who had a loft space that he lived in, and he had a full recording studio sort of performance space in upper 20s. And for 6 or 7 years, he did a thing where he would do a featured singer and he would play with them with a full band. And he's a masterful guitar player. And then he would have a jam session. And for the first like few years, that jam session was filled with some of the best singers in New York. Like everybody hung there on Wednesday nights. And then it became just this place for every singer, regardless of ability and sanity, could just go up and be on stage. And it, of course, the good singers then were like, why do we don't want to hang out here? So everybody just, you know, sort of faded. But for that beginning time, and it was called Zebs, for that beginning time, those few years, Wednesday nights were like so killing. And as you said, right, at the end of the session, for the last song, we'd get up all the singers together, make up some kooky harmonies, trade. I mean, it was just like a sisterhood or a brotherhood, you know, a musician, a family that was so beautiful. But it's somehow, unfortunately, I feel like that's really hard with singers. That like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're jazz musicians or you're not a jazz musician. Like, that doesn't mean we all are exactly at the same level of each other. And yeah, everybody's got a lot to learn, but you should consider yourself a jazz musician, not just like I'm a vocalist. Like, I'm a musician. Like I do basically the same stuff they do, but my instruments in here, like, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, New York scene.
So when you teach workshops, do you focus on particular subjects?
Well, you know, the workshop series that I was running up until COVID, was generally two different types of classes. One was a rhythm section class where you're really learning to like be with a band.
Yeah.
So you're learning to prepare your own material and understand how to work with a band, how to lead them, how to talk to them, how to speak in musical terminology, how to have appropriate chord or charts, things like that. And then we also did one that was sort of a little bit more beginner for people who were coming into learning jazz, which was like the art of the song, which was just with an accompanist, and really learning how the sort of format of singing a jazz tune works. You know, how to phrase the melody, how to, you know, understand time and have that be kind of your guide with how everything else fits that you sing. So those were two of the main workshops. So they were like 8 or 10 weeks long. And then we would do a performance at a New York City club. And those would just kind of go on. So, I mean, it was 6 or 7 years doing those workshops up until COVID. So, yeah, but those were great. It was amazing. It was really fun. It was great to work with a lot of instrumentalists who came and played for us. Made so many friends with people taking the workshops. Friends that, you know I will have for many years after we're doing anymore. And it kind of focused me a lot in my own approach, if I want to call it that. I mean, I don't know if I have, that sounds like it's super specific or special, but just the way I think about things and the way I, want to describe or explain what I think this music is. And I think that was important for me too, just for my own musical growth, to be able to get more clarity on it.
Do you think, this is kind of a really personal artist question, really, is there a particular ability that you have as a singer that you think is your best work, your best, like, for instance, for me, I can sing any style, and I love rhythm, and I love swinging, I love bossa nova, I love waltzes, I love the attachment to rhythm. However, I think what I deliver well is these kind of vulnerable type of songs, where my voice doesn't necessarily come out perfect or not, but it's not really about that. It's about a connection with this vulnerability where I can touch on different things like, you know, all the different kinds of pain, but also all the different kinds of hope. And so anyway, that's one of my better qualities.
That's a good question. I think I don't I guess I would phrase it as the thing that I appreciate a lot about my singing is I feel like there's no separation between who I am, like who you meet, and who you get in the song and on stage.
Nice. Yeah.
I really feel like I'm able to express myself very clearly through the repertoire that I bring. Like the repertoire, I always tell people, if you come to numerous shows, you're going to get to know me in a way that you did not ask for. Because the repertoire to me is just ways for me to express every part of what I'm going through, what I think, what I believe, how I love, how I hurt, all of that. So I think that's something that for me that I am very happy about, appreciative of, that makes me like singing more. Because it just allows that I never feel really false. Like I don't know what this is about, or I'm phoning this in, or boy, I hate this song, but somebody told me to sing it. I don't, that doesn't really happen.
Cool. Do you feel like being a Latina heritage or presently, do you feel like that influences your work?
Honestly, no, but I started doing some songs in Spanish a few years ago, and people kind of freaked out in a good way. And I don't understand. Like, to me, it's like the same, but they seem to think that I sound very different or somehow more something. I don't know. I feel like it's just me in Spanish. It's the same me. But I don't know if I feel like my background puts me in a different spot. I mean, really, I'm second generation Puerto Rican. I'm American, I mean, my parents were very American and, we grew up being this. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a very passionate person. I don't think that has anything to do with me being Latina.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Some people might think so, but I think I'm a very passionate person. I'm a very expressive person, sometimes to my own detriment. And I think that's a lot of what comes out musically. But it's, I don't feel like I err on the side of any sort of stereotypical Latinness generally.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know down the line, as you grow older, if you sometime consider doing, or move to doing, more of a Latin project, to kind of pull your heritage,
That a few years ago when I first put a song in Spanish on a record, that was like my first tiptoe in, which I had been super stubborn and very much fighting against for reasons that never really existed, I guess. But I am interested in it. I mean, I am very, and maybe this is, I'm okay with the possibility that my confusion or my hesitance now is possibly, there's no reason, but I really love jazz. I really, really love jazz.
Yeah.
I love Latin music and I like Latin jazz, but I don't love it nearly as much as I love jazz.
Yeah.
And what I've seen and experienced in these numerous years being in the business is that the moment you start even singing in Spanish, you go down a different path. It takes you down a Latin jazz path that is different.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly want to go down that path. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I sing in Spanish songs that I love, songs that are good, or if I, write songs in Spanish, which I haven't dared to yet, um, how can I do that and still feel totally grounded in this music without it suddenly slipping into this other thing?
Yeah.
Because, you know, um, when I have tried other Latin things, like being in a Latin band situation, I love it for a very different reason. It's like this energy. It's uh, there's there's this other thing, but what I love about the way I sing, I don't get to do there really. It doesn't really fit in the structure and the format.
Uh,
So I'm trying to figure out little by little, how can I do this and still feel all the ways I feel when I just sing straight. Like I hate calling it straight ahead jazz, but jazz, you
yeah.
know. And I did for a while there, I was doing a project where most of the set was in Spanish. And I told the band after like 6 or 8 months, I was like, some of these songs just, they fence me in. Like they're so structured in a way that I don't feel where I can go. And I don't like that. I that's not really the way I pick songs. So slowly as we continued, I would pull songs out because I was like, I get it. I love this song. It's a nice song, but I don't know where else I can go with that
hmm
in, the way it was built.
Yeah.
So I would be very into it. And I always have it sort of in my mind of ideas and trying to learn more repertoire too, because that's a huge, vast chasm that I haven't really dived into fully yet. Yeah, I could see it happening. I can see it
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Dina DeRose says hello. Hi,
Hey.
Dina. Talk about a quality person.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, I'd like to hear another thing and maybe something up because I don't think
Ooh.
we've really heard.
Yeah, let me see. I'm just gonna look at my list here. What's in here? Maybe something with George Colligan. Hold on a second. I'm just looking at what's here. Uh, yeah. So George, do you know George Colligan?
I
He's
do
been your
not.
side of. You don't? Oh my God, what a fantastic piano player he is! Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, really and truly, just gem. He's in Portland. I mean, he's not in LA, but
Yeah,
when you're in New York, everybody who's on that side of the world is pretty much,
I know that's true actually.
it's like you're all together. Maybe then we'll do Look No Further.
Okay.
That's from Birdland.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Now I don't think Birdland will take me
What?
off.
Oh, well,
But
it's my video though, so they don't
okay.
own it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's that piano player again.
Yeah.
Person to stop looking around. That what they want is right there in front of them. Look at the ocean. Look at the sand. Look at each other with love.
Can you hear this all right, Marianne?
With love we look at each other. Now we can see all we've planned. Look no further, be still, don't move an inch away. Stay with one who loves you. Look no further, dear. No more searching, that is through. This is the journey's end. Friend has turned to lover. Look no further, dear. Why must you wander? Heaven isn't far. Just trust right where you are.
stupendous. I know you have to be going soon, and but that was really, yeah, just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I just love
Thank you.
the way you sing. It's great.
Oh, thank you so much. As I do you, I told you that I found you on Spotify and we were listening to you, and now we've listened to a few other tunes as well, because you have a really beautiful Star-Crossed Lovers.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that we just showed on the hang as well.
Oh,
But yeah,
I love that.
I man, this was such a pleasure, really and
It was
truly.
great. I really enjoyed talking with you and really meeting you and hearing what you have to say. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I can't believe Newton and Newton South.
I know. That's
And
really wild.
Berkeley. I mean, it's like, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Definitely. Well, we'll say goodbye to you. I won't hang up with the Facebook crowd yet because I'm going
Yeah.
to tell them a few things. But have a great day.
Thank you. I'm
And,
going to get my vaccine, so
That's
wish
why
me
she's
luck.
leaving a little early.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Mwah. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you all for checking it out and listening and tuning in. Thanks.
Bye, hon.
Bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to thanks for being here and listening to me and Marianne Solivan. Now I can say her name well. And then I just wanted to tell you tomorrow I have a friend of mine from Los Angeles, a bass player, singer, composer, teacher, funny man, Armando Campion. And he's been a friend of mine, I don't know how many years, but many, many, many years. And we've had a lot of ridiculously fun gigs together. Oh, gosh. And so that's tomorrow, Armando Campion. And then Thursday through Sunday, I'm posting archives, hopefully around the same time. I try and do it around 12. So Thursday is Kiki Ebsen, who is a really incredible artist, pianist, vocalist, writer. She's the daughter of Buddy Ebsen, who was a hoofer and an actor in a lot of various TV shows that we grew up on. Friday is the well-known bassist John Clayton. He's one of the elegant timekeepers of our jazz heritage. And Saturday, the wonderful Judy Niemak, the incredible educator and singer and bebop artist and free singer, just great. And then Sunday, two friends of mine, I have a 7-piece vocal improv, a cappella usually, group called Fish to Birds, which you can find on the web, Fish to Birds. And we have 7 pieces. So 2 of them will be on Sunday with me. That's Cecily Gardner and Emil Hassan Dyer. And that's really beautiful. And just to let you know who's coming live the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mark and Alan Ferber, who are twin brothers and who are at the high level of jazz. Mark Ferber being one of the best drummers I've ever heard, and Alan Ferber, one of the best trombone players I've ever heard, who also has a big band. And they're bi-coastal, New York and LA, although I think they're in New York right now, pretty much. And then a great drummer who I befriended over the years, just online actually, and he does a lot of similar things in the community that I do, and we just got to be friends. Bob Mayer, and so that's going to be fun on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is Theo Bleckman, and Theo Bleckman is an adventurous, talented vocalist, writer, teacher, everything. He's really talented, and he's a lot of fun to talk with. So that's Wednesday. And then it just goes on and on and on. I'm not going to stop until I want to. And I don't know if I'll ever want to, because it's so much fun to talk to all these various people, some famous, some not famous, and mostly jazz people and arrangers and singers and drummers and guitar players. And it's a really wonderful process to do this. And I'm getting a lot out of it, and I know you are too. So on that note, I hope I'll see you tomorrow. And if not, just tune in any day because I'm always on. Have a great day. Stay safe.